Oh boy, City Skylines 2. Yeah, I know I'm late to this one, but I wanted some time to pass and to collect my thoughts and actually play the game for a little while after its release to finally give my thoughts and opinions on what's great, what's not so great, what's good, and what sucks. Welcome aboard, and good. Although I feel like it's lacking a lot. For example, we could have a lot more of these wonderful things known as city policies, which I barely even use so much that I've forgotten exactly where they are. If we go to, I think it's under, actually, I think it's one of these here. I don't even remember. Cargo, public transit. No, that's not it. Taxation, loan, services, production. All that's important and kind of broken. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, I don't even know where the hell the thing is. I never use it. But if you click on the districts, you're able to set policies that way. I do know that. And I think we've got like, I don't know, maybe 10 policies that we can set. And these are really good, but they're lacking severely. Like, for example, I don't know, making free public transit if you wanted to, or free to students, or book reading days or book fairs, or leaf burning ban or something like that to increase and decrease education or safety or whatever. And it's always nice to be able to do that, but this has such a severe lack of something that's not even really visual. It's kind of just more like, for example, energy conservation. Well, you're going to pay money for that to have that campaign, but you're going to save a lot of power in the city, and that's pretty good if you have a massive city to save 5% power or whatnot in a city something along the lines of New York or Manhattan. Yeah, that's going to be a huge thing, and that would have been very important here. But yeah, building all the districts and building just in general is phenomenal. In fact, one of my favorite areas of all the cities that I built is literally right here, where I have an North American style highway going over multiple railroad tracks, and there's dirt roads on the side, which gives access to farms where we have police patrolling and semis coming in and out, hauling cargo and livestock and whatnot. A gorgeous of a wooden bridge that then leads to a train depot, which has to be built too. And so a lot of this infrastructure is required, and the map is much bigger than ever. I mean, this is crazy. The red outline that you see in the lower right corner of the screen going across the bottom, that's your map limit, and it is much bigger than in City Skylines 1. And the tiles are a lot smaller too that you can buy, which is actually kind of cool, because then you can buy each little, kind of buy more strategically, where you can buy like a long rectangle going out into the water to build a port or something like that, and you could build your own island out there. Or of course you could just build like your traditional 4x4 kind of thing. That's like the more standard size, but good options here to kind of do what you want. And again, going back to what I said about the buildings, like the buildings are massive. The international airport, huge. It's like a 2x2 as well, where it takes up the entire size of like our downtown area here to be able to build it. And so it's really nice to be able to build up to those things. And it is really nice, by the way, that the developers, in my opinion, gave us terraforming in the game for free with no limitations whatsoever. You can literally, if you want to, make a giant mountain out of nowhere and build on top of that if you don't like the initial maps. Like when you start here and buy some of the land, you can then start, terraforming it to your heart's content. And I feel like that's by design. Now, some of the things that I've seen IGN and other, journalistic reporters for games report on is that some of the lots, which I don't see too many here because I usually flatten things out, but they do get a little, here we go, a little weird, a little wild. Yeah, look at that parking lot. Like, what the hell? There's no way you could park there. And look at, even like a dog is lost, thinking like, what the hell's going on? So it's a little weird. Things are a little, yeah, there's like a coffee shop here, like, what the hell? Yeah, there's no way you're getting there. But honestly, I think it's on you to be able to, wow, there's a lot of people in the city. Damn. But anyway, in my opinion, I think it is now more on you and me to be able to build these cities in Terraform than ever before. Like, for example, mods would give us more power to do what we wanted, and the developers have given that to us by default. If you don't want to terraform, you certainly don't have to, or you can minimize it. You get to control it, but by terraforming, you end up with cities that look like this, which looks a little unrealistic, but you can eventually build these gorgeous ravine roads, or I guess kind of like these retaining walls or whatnot, that look great along the water, or it can be built on the side of a cliff like this. And this looks pretty good too. If you fill this in with trees and stuff, it'll eventually kind of look more like it does down here, which looks pretty good, honestly. I mean, I like the look of it. And yeah, I mean, you can mix styles together, making a North American or a European looking city, and it's just outstanding. But there's some problems with the game. I think there's a lot of great to it. But some of the major things is that, for example, the last few patches, the developers have been more focused on removing offensive radio ads that were loud and annoying, and doing something along the lines of, changing citizens' models when they go in and out of buildings and disappearing and whatnot, or like changing variations of how people appear on the map or something like that. Like, it literally says something along the lines of like undesirable, like clothing or something like that, like too many matching clothing, something like that. Someone explained it to me that sometimes people would wear like blue shirts and blue jeans and it would match too much, so they mixed it up, and other things like that. So, and there's been problems with the economy too, where, for example, I don't even know why this city or how this city is making so much profits versus another city that I'm going to show you, where all of these will total up to, of all the cities I built, over 300,000 population. And I still don't know how to make money in this game. I don't. I see a lot of people trying to figure it out too. A massive amount of your money can come in from taxes, which should probably equal your expenses. If you have $2 million, let's say, in expenses, then you should probably have $2 million in taxes. and then let your production take care of a lot of that too. But it's just kind of hard to figure out what's profitable, if it's actually being sent out. We still have problems with the postal service, for example. If you use the postal service here, some buildings are just completely bogged down and don't get enough mail service. Even if you put the postal service building or a post office literally next to the building, it still has problems. Like, there's 1,500 people that work here, I think. Yeah, there's about 1,500 people that would work here, where right now it's 600 more people are being hired. But they can't, like, everybody's apparently mailing their mail from work. Like, it doesn't make sense. And if you build the postal sorting facility, which I haven't unlocked here, apparently it doesn't even work. It's supposed to connect your city to other cities outside your city, which works as a hub for everybody to send their mail to that building to then get shipped out, or for postal trucks to come to this building and pick up to deliver to your city. And it simply just doesn't work. It literally is not working. And there's some other things too that aren't necessarily functioning, like trains, which here in this city, it seems like vehicles are getting to my train depot to do maintenance and whatnot, and that's totally fine. But if we go down here to the cargo train terminal, I've got stuff being shipped out. We have a lot of efficiency based on what we're spending, and we've got semi-trucks that are exporting like crazy. But I have the same exact setup in my European map, and here we're making about 50. Oh wow, whoa, like 94,000. Like, I have no idea how that happened. We're making about 94,000, and yeah, I don't know exactly how that's working. So the biggest appeal to me, other than what I saw on the surface of all the roads and whatnot, was the fact that it was like the industrial DLC was more baked in, to where all the things like oil and farms that you were exporting would be a lot more important. So thus, if you bring people into your city and you educate them and you keep them happy, when they fall on hard times, if you help them out with like the welfare office and whatnot and help them to find better jobs, well, the people who once were working at the, I don't know, fast food restaurant are now doctors, lawyers, and scientists, and train drivers and factory managers and whatnot, and now they can make high-tech products that you can ship out via train like this. But I have no idea if it's working or not. It's just like the invisible hand or whatnot, like just products happen to go out, products happen to go in. The biggest thing of advice I can say is, like, building farms has been the most important thing for me. Building both livestock farms and crop farms and vegetable farms have saved me a lot of money from imports. And by saving money, I've made money, I guess. It sounds like an ad or something, like by switching to Geico. But no, I mean, like, literally just building lots of endless homes can certainly help to give you a big boost in tax dollars. But then eventually, these people are going to want goods that if you make here, you don't have to pay the import fee for. And it feels like import and export is broken, to where it's like the only way they can literally get most of their products is by producing it yourself. And sometimes, I don't know, like, you just don't want to make something. Like, if you're going for a high-tech industrial city or something, maybe you don't want to see farms. Maybe you just don't mind importing all that stuff, like keeping that well out of the city or something. But then you have the issue of fertility. And there's that. So I don't know. We got a lot to talk about, though. A lot more to talk about. Yeah, so back to the main menu to talk a little bit about the maps in the game. Now, I'm very happy with the fact that we get the chance to choose both northern and southern hemisphere for some of these. For example, a good starter map, which any of them are, really. A lot of people have been asking what's a good starter map, and it really just, I think what you should do is load into each of these and kind of take a little tour around to see if it's right for you. But Barrier Island, for example, a nice thing is that you can actually change the theme of the map. And although I should clarify, for example, the latitude, I feel like there's no reason why these should not be selectable. It looks like you cannot change your southern or southern hemisphere while you play. So I don't understand why some of these maps just don't let you flip around the hemisphere, which would just flip around the seasons or adjust climate and or theme yourself. I mean, if we can choose the theme, why not be able to choose anything else? I mean, we have lots of options for natural disasters and unlocking everything at the start, or money, or tutorials on. But I feel like those should be added by default. But the maps that are here are good. I mean, I don't think there's as many as the previous game, or maybe there is. I can't recall on 1.0 City Skylines. But there's also that $90 like Ultimate Edition, which I think comes with maybe the year one pass, or at least some of the new DLCs coming soon. Like, for example, beachside properties, and also ports and bridges, which we'll elaborate a little bit more on that, which hopefully we get way more bridges, because I do not like the options for bridges in this game. There seems to be one or two that are lovable and likable, and then after you build those, it's almost like a landmark where you don't want to build it more than once because it just becomes too matchy. Anyway, let's jump into another game, and I'm going to keep on complaining. As I've been playing, I've been trying to keep two major cities since release or just before at about the same level. And here's another city, a European themed one that's at about the same population and around the same amount of money, I think, but is losing money heavily. And I still can't figure out what's going on. But the city looks nice. This is the Windy Fjord map, which ironically enough is not too windy. But it is certainly a beautiful map for sure. And I've gone for more of a European look here with the EU buildings and trying to do more things like mass transit and, you know, minimizing parking lots, though they're still here, and building metro stations and really trying to decorate and create heritage here, like, for example, finding an old abandoned castle outside the borders of the map and dragging it here and then building a park pathway around it and trying to create some sort of a story for the city, which is certainly possible. Again, going back to what I said about all the infrastructure, it's great, and being able to build all sorts of wacky and weird things and up in the mountains looks believable and realistic, and I've got no gripes with that. And the nighttime looks good, and everything seems good, as well as the transitional filters and whatnot. I hope we get more options for that in the future, but yeah, now it's time to talk about a few other things that everybody's been so flustered by, like, for example, performance. Now, I talked about it a little bit before, but I think the performance of this game truly was okay for me, and I think it was just because I was tipped off at the start, and the developers should have did a little bit more of a better job, I think, of trying to maybe default to mid and then telling everyone, hey, step it up from here. If you have a better system, you know, just crank it up over time or tone it down. But I think that's another problem, too, that we're having with a lot of games in 2023, where we're really starting to push the limits of both content and appearance at the same time. Again, this is a tremendously huge map, and if we fill this all in with a massive city, even with the best system, I wouldn't be surprised with a lower frame rate. Right now, we're getting about 40 frames per second, between 30 and 40, and in the previous map it was about the same, all filled in like this. And so it's like, well, if I continue to build, how big will the damage be? Well, mileage may vary based on the system that you have and your setup and whatnot, but that's something that I think there should be a lot more focus on, instead of, again, removing radio stations and changing people's outfits and whatnot. We should be immediately focusing on issues like, for example, maybe toning down the high rent thing. Apparently there was also an issue with businesses having way too many or not enough customers, even though they were getting enough, and then way too many of those businesses were complaining and possibly moving out. So they've tweaked those things, and I think that's okay. I feel like each of the, in my personal opinion, and let me know if you agree with this or not, I feel truly like City Skylines 1 was not a completed game until they released this one. Honestly, I mean, they were still releasing DLCs for City Skylines 1. They were still releasing free updates that modified and changed the game and improved upon problems and kept the game optimized for today's systems and running, even though it was a 2015 game. Well, even developed earlier than that in like 2014. Maybe even before that was Cities in Motion, developing Cities in Motion, giving way to City Skylines that way. But honestly, I feel like now that City Skylines 2 is out, they're not going to give as much support to that. Maybe there'll be a hot fix here and there for City Skylines 1, where they find an issue on console and then maybe try to fix it on PC 2 to give some sort of fairness. But yeah, I don't think that City Skylines 1 was completed until now, and it's a great game, and made even greater by all the mods. And then, yeah, Paradox put everything behind a wall and is not really necessarily permitting mods at the moment, and I think that honestly is an EA move. In my honest opinion, I believe that they did that in order to try to stunt the growth of the modding community for this, in order to give DLCs and other types of content, or what do they call it, creator packs, content creator packs, a little time to thrive, and to try to make sure that they had the chance to fix the problems that they made and that they have, so that way the modding community is not the heroes. If you could imagine all these problems with the game, modders within a couple of weeks would be able to fix a lot of this, even if they're major problems like performance and whatnot, and the developers might kind of just be overshadowed by people who want to do things for free because they want to have a good game for everybody. And so, yeah, I think that honestly they took mods off of Steam, it's no longer on the Steam Workshop, and put them on the Paradox website just to do that. Now, honestly, there's another game out there like Farming Simulator that has a mod hub, but you can also download mods from Steam. So they wanted to do that, you know, for the console players and for everybody, but that doesn't justify removing it for everybody on Steam to then also, give it to everybody on the same platform. I think they could have kept it on Steam, also let the mod hub be on the main menu for anybody who wants to use it, and then also let console players have that too. It's totally believable that somebody on PC may also want to play this game on console. Maybe there's two people who want to play and they only have one computer and one console, so they buy different versions, and so they want to play with the same mods. That's totally fair. But as you all know, Steam is a madhouse of talent, and so at this point, we would probably have well over, 2,000 or 3,000 mods, most of which would probably be actual serious scripting and big changes to the game, and not necessarily just cosmetic buses with like different decals or like a cute little water tower from a town that actually exists, that kind of thing. But anyway, I certainly agree with a lot of opinions about the game needing a little bit more time, and I certainly think this could have perhaps been released into early access and then released maybe next spring, and then not mention any sort of DLCs. It was too much EA at once. It was too much Paradox at once. And Paradox recently on their Twitter made a meme that said the DLCs will continue until morale improves. And it's like, well, all right. On one hand, Paradox and its companies that it works with for developers need to make money. They're in the business of making money, and that's totally fine. But just like with City Skylines, where the hell is that money coming from? You're making weird changes to things just to justify making some extra money. But if Baldur's Gate 3 released in 2023, and if City Skylines 1 released in 2015 is any indication of gamers like uniting to support the hell out of something, all you gotta do is just make a good game. That's it. If they needed a little bit more time, they could have just done the early access thing, because obviously once the bullet was out of the gun of them pulling the trigger on announcing the game and announcing a release date, then doing things like delaying it on console and then saying, oh, maybe the performance won't be so good, watch out everybody. Yeah. But I've got to say, this is certainly a game I would recommend, so long as you're aware of the issues, and also if you're aware of the fact that you have 2 hours to return the game on Steam and many other platforms. If you get it and you like it but you're not in love with it and want to return it, that's totally fine. Refund the game. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't hurt my channel. It doesn't benefit me if you buy the game and fall in love with it either. I think it's a good game, and I've certainly enjoyed putting a lot of time into it, and I've liked watching a lot of other creators making insanely beautiful things just in vanilla, because it shows with all the limitations of vanilla, although a lot less restrictive than City Skylines 1, there's a lot to love here, and there's a lot to be skeptical about too. But for myself, I certainly would recommend the game if it fits your price point and if you know that there's going to be some issues. But despite all of those issues, I'm still certainly excited to try out some of the new DLCs and see how they improve my cities. But I also want to try out some mods, and that just seems to be a little bit more difficult to do. So I'm a little jaded, I'm a little skeptical, and a little hurt on some of the things that have come out here. But I do truly believe in Colossal Order, in trying and wanting to make a very good game, and maybe being caught up in some marketing and some real heavy push from Paradox to make all sorts of funny and laughy videos. And of course, the crew is very talented and very lighthearted, and they're very good at what they do. And they were able to make this, and this is I love the look of the buildings. All the buildings, European, North American, and whatnot, all look so good. They're great scale. They're gorgeous. I would love to actually have models of these buildings. I think some of them are a little big, and I feel like there could still be multiple sizes for police departments and fire departments and whatnot. And I love the fact that they took the modular idea from SimCity 2013 with adding on, instead of building a whole new power plant, just add another generator onto it, or add another smokestack or another storage area, and do that with your taxi and your bus depots and improve them that way. But I still feel like we could have smaller buildings too, and that a lot of that stuff should just be added for free. And I want to know from you, if you were both Paradox and or Colossal Order, how do you regain the trust, and how do you regain some of the confidence in people who've already bought the game if there's issues? Do you just give out a ton of extra stuff for free on all the updates, or do you just scale back on the DLCs and just maybe wait a while and put a lot more time to polish the game? That's what I would do. I know they have quotas and they have a certain number of DLCs that they probably have to release. This game needs to make a certain amount of money, but that means they're going to have to wait a while for it. And if this is the game that we get from now, 2023, let's say about maybe 10 years until 2033 or maybe even 2030, it's still a good game. And you know, I think that they need to put in a lot of extra effort to make it nice and to make nice on some of their promises. I don't think we have a situation on par with perhaps No Man's Sky. I think there's still more content here than I was imagining, but just a lot less in the places that I thought it would be. I thought we would get skimped a little bit on certain aspects of the game, but lo and behold, there's like literally nobody on football fields except for homeless people who aren't even home. I guess they're at work. I guess like some of these buildings are just completely abandoned. Nobody in the parks. Nobody at the nobody like in the walking out of the parking lots. Vehicles kind of just come in. There's been hilarious shorts on my channel of helicopters basically walking on paths, like where they would go on like these pedestrian paths, and helicopters would just hover and follow people around. And you can't even connect to some of the parks. There's like fences around, so there's some weird restrictions. But I feel like we. But overall, good game. I would recommend, but be aware of some of the issues. They're kind of annoying, and there's some shady stuff going on. I feel like that's more on the publisher than the developer, but still, I think we have a good game here. That needs to get better, though. I think a lot of people expected a lot more. We have about, what is it, 25 or 35,000 mixed reviews, which I think a lot of those are day one performance issues. And I do see the developers trying to fix some of those things in the bug fixes improvement section. But again, they're focused on radio stations and minor things rather than the bigger stuff. And I suppose that's okay too, because the big stuff takes time to fix. And so they have to show that they're willing to fix it by doing other things. But devs, always, in any game, please do take your time. And if any time on Twitter we see the black background, white text that says, hey, you know, we got to, you know, gamers, mayors, whatever they call their gaming group. In this case, it'd be mayors or simmers or whatever. Look, we have to delay. We're sorry. I hope you're with us. And it's like, good. Take your time. We are tired of these games that are incomplete. But then again, arguably, City Skylines 1 wasn't complete until this year. Again. All right, well, you tell me all your thoughts down below in the comments section. What do you think of my city? What do you think of other cities? What do you think about the game as a whole? What do you think about DLCs and where we're at now? What do you think about the devs? What do you think about the release? What could they have done differently? I don't know. I'd like to hear from you, though, and I hope to see you soon. I hope you're well, and thank you very much for watching City Skylines 2. Thoughts?